On Labor Day morning, on September 7th, I had the opportunity to tag along with the Frankenfields, so Andrew and his son Tanner, and Andrew's dad Dale, and I really enjoyed watching them set up as well as watching the process of harvesting the corn. One thing I was really impressed by was Andrew and his son Tanner's driving skills and also how attentive and aware they were of each other's position relative to each other, and how aware they were of what they were doing. And so that's one thing I wanted to ask them about.
You gotta watch and see where the corn is landing and make sure it's landing on the wagon.
Do you ever have to swerve or brake or go faster?
Sometimes it depends what the picker operator is doing.
The picker operator and the tractor driver have to be in sync.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a different driver, and until that person's trained, it can get very interesting and frustrating when one guy's going one way, another guy's going the other way, and corn's ending up on the ground. Tanner does good.
Good job, Tanner. I think you did a good job.
So when we're picking, each operator knows what the other guy's doing if you work together long enough.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get to the end, he knows I'm going to stop and I'm going to let the elevator empty out. When I'll back up and start the next row, he'll come in front of me, next to me, and he knows I need to stop and wait for things to turn on. And so as long as each other knows what the other person's doing, it makes it flow very good.
So you need to be a good team.
Definitely. And we can communicate without talking. I can point, nod, make hand signals, and we know what those mean. Most people don't have any clue what we're saying, but it does, because when you get a new person operating and they're not familiar with the system,
oh yeah,
it looks terrible.
So hard.
It's frustrating. Yeah.
So you can see here the corn picker first pulls down each stalk of corn, and then there are rollers inside with sharp knives, basically, that allow the stalk to go through but pluck off or force off the corn cob from the stalk. And so the corn cob is going to come out on a conveyor belt, which you will see, and the stalk will fall to the ground for the most part. Occasionally a stalk might get caught and come out where the sweet corn comes out, but really it should just collapse down, and then you'll have the sweet corn come out. So here you can see it from a lower angle. Again, the stalks being pulled down in, the cobs coming off or being forced off on the conveyor belt, and then out the back you can see any pieces that got ground up, pushed out the back. So here go the corn cobs on the conveyor belt, and there you can see a couple stalks got caught in there as well. After the corn rides up on that conveyor belt, it falls down and goes onto an elevator, which is another conveyor belt. And this elevator is adjustable, so he can spin it to release the corn behind him onto a wagon, or off to the side onto a wagon like they're doing here. He did say that if he would put it onto a wagon behind him, it would all pile up in one place, so that doesn't work quite as well.
When you're driving, how do you keep straight?
So
you do one row at a time.
Do one row at a time, and my tractor drives dead on the previous row.
Okay.
So if my front tire is right on top of the previous row, it should be good. The challenge I have is I need to watch the corn flowing through the head of the picker. That's the most important part. If there's a stalk that gets jammed, or a small ear can get stuck in there, everything jams up. I trust the guy on the tractor, who's usually Tanner, that he's going to be where he's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
If he stops and I keep going, I'm going to run into the back window of the tractor.
Yeah.
But pretty much we're in sync. But I keep an eye on the head, the height that the picker's running, and just glance over at the wagon every once in a while, and I'll make faces at him if there's corn falling on the ground,
Yeah.
But most of the time it's not a problem.
That's good.
Growing sweet corn is so much more involved than just harvesting and driving tractors. In fact, there's a lot of planning, work, and time that goes into planting the corn, irrigating about an inch per acre per week, harvesting the corn, and then planting cover crops to replenish the nitrogen, and also to hold the soil in place so that the corn can grow well the following year. Frankenfields also use no-till and crop rotation to protect the soil. Andrew plants about 18 acres of sweet corn, successively planting seeds starting in April, and when that first batch of seedlings emerges, they will plant every 4 to 5 days until July in order to stagger for harvest, which is from July to late September or early October. In the end, they will harvest about 8 to 13,000 dozen, which adds up to a total of 100 to 150,000 ears of corn. Their sweet corn picker can pick one row at a time, and I rode along for 4 rows. And in that time, they were able to fill the wagon. Each row took about 3 to 4 minutes from start to stop, and of course there's some transition time. And then they had the wagon full. And in this video here, this clip, you can see it's not totally full, but in between each row, Andrew would get out and take some stalks out so that they mainly just had cobs.
But we can go pretty good. We can fill that wagon with over 200 dozen in less than a half hour.
So next, they parked the corn picker at the beginning of the row and headed back to the farm to process the wagon full of corn. Here you can see Tanner sorting the corn. So he's throwing out any ears that are too bruised or that might be too small. And he is packaging these crates very carefully with 52 ears of corn. Customers will order 50, and he is just adding 2 bonus ears. Any of the scraps that can't be eaten by humans are thrown into the cattle, and they were waiting at the gate expectantly in the morning to receive some of this. So they were working to compost all of that, all the scraps. Next, the sweet corn is set out at the farmer's market to be sold, or it is packaged up ready for customers. You'll notice that some of the corn was packaged in bags, and these bags were going out to customers who were ordering smaller quantities. And my family happened to order 150 on this particular morning, and so it was exciting to get to continue following the corn on its journey to the plate. Just about every year at the end of the summer, my family will do up corn, which basically just means we're processing it and then freezing it so that we can use it all throughout the year. So this is a family tradition that I really enjoy. It requires a lot of work, but it's fun to sit around in a circle on a nice day under a tree and talk and hang out and husk corn, and sometimes even my grandfather will come over and help, as well as other family members. Here's my dad, Gerald Metzler, and as you can see, he is cheerfully husking the corn. And to husk an ear of corn, you basically just take off the husk and all of the silk that's remaining, and sometimes, occasionally, we might get a worm. We can toss that to the chickens, and all the silk and husks we can either compost, or sometimes we give it to a family friend's pigs.
Look at that beautiful ear of corn.
It'll taste mighty good this winter.
Mom, what's your favorite dish with corn in it?
Maybe corn pudding or chicken corn soup or mashed potatoes and corn.
Maria, what's your favorite meal with corn?
Roast beef.
Mashed potatoes and corn.
Dad, how about you?
I like roast beef, mashed potatoes, and corn on the side.
Oh, on the side. Lancaster guy.
Corn goes on top of the potato.
Maria says corn goes on
I
top.
do that sometimes too.
Sophia, how do you like your corn?
Wearing off on
Right on the cob. Raw.
with some dirt.
Sophia loved the corn, and so did I, especially this year. It was really sweet, and it just fell off of the ear of corn when you're eating it.
We blanch the corn, then we get it out of the water and put it in an ice bath to cool it off.
Sweeter. Quicker it cools down.
There should be ice in here, but most of it melted from the last time, but it's very cold water that I'm putting it in the sink.
And now, here's Gerald Metzler cutting off the
I
corn.
got my hairnet on. I got my mustache net. Oh, I need a bucket.
So what do you do, Dad? You just take it
Yeah, you
and...
start from the top, guide it down on here with my thumb. Watch it don't hit my other thumb.
So you first go all over it like that. And then you kind of scrape it back.
Yeah, you want to get all the juices out, you can. It's all good stuff in there. And that's 2 years of corn.
2 years of corn.
Yeah.
All right.
And the last step before freezing is bagging up the corn. So we put it into quart-sized freezer bags, and then we'll put it in the freezer.
I think this year maybe more people are doing canning and freezing because prices are higher in the store and just to have things on hand.
This is the big chest freezer.
Try to lay it out flat in the freezer and just kind of single layer as much as possible so that it freezes better.
And now the corn will be available to use to make any of our favorite dishes throughout the year. Just want to say a huge thank you to my family for allowing me to watch them and help a little bit in their processing of sweet corn. Also a huge thank you to the Frankenfields for allowing me to tag along and also interviewing them. And it's always a pleasure to hear all of their knowledge and wisdom about farming. Thankfully, it looks like this may be their best year yet for the sweet corn harvest. So thank you for including me in all of the action.